outside for taking it in. Just quickly, something I wanted to mention at the very beginning. Part of the reason we're doing this Speechathon tonight is because we're all working towards points on this chart over here, and Jillian did allude to that with David's final speech, and that beginning speech is a start of that as well. And this is, we're all working towards getting all of these as yeses. So we want all yeses by June 30th. We'll talk more about that as the year goes on. Constantine.
Thank you so much, Lilith. Dear friends, you're lucky you don't have to stack with me for the next part. Actually, I have a little helper, Colin Williams, who's going to lead through the second part of the meeting.
Thank you, Constantine, for those unique words of introduction. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. I'm totally honored and excited to be your Toastmaster for the evening to lead us to the second half of our speech and evaluation marathon. And just want to actually recognize our chair, Constantine, for doing an amazing job at getting us refocused on what we do best here at Club 59, which is deliver captivating, prepared speeches and thought-provoking, meaningful evaluations. So again, great job, Constantine. So, are we ready to continue the adventure?
Yes.
Let's do it. Our fourth speaker of the evening is going to be Deborah LePaturel, Club 59 All-Star, former president. She's working from an advanced manual. She's working from the management speaking manual. The objective of her speech tonight is to explore how to deliver bad news. The title of Deborah's speech is The Flood. With her advanced manual speech titled The Flood, please help me welcome Deborah LePaturel.
How many of you in the audience have ever had your home or apartment flood? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's talk after this speech. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. 8 weeks ago, I got home on Thursday evening and there was some water dripping down the side of my bathroom wall. I took a photo, sent it to my landlord and said, hey, got some water in my bathroom, would you mind checking it out? Didn't think much of it, went to bed, woke up the next day, nothing really going on. Saturday morning, my roommate wakes up, steps out of her bedroom and into the hallway, and water comes up through the tile and it's flowing in our hallway, in our bathroom, and in our kitchen. Our apartment had flooded. We took a few more photos and that's when the emails just started to fly. We're not taking blame, talk to your insurance, talk to the strata, talk to the building manager, talk to your landlord. It was a disaster. So tonight what I want to talk about is how to deliver bad news. I get it. It's awkward. My landlord had to come to me and say, look, somebody messed up, but we're going to fix it. But this is not at all what he did. So tonight I'm going to give you the email that I would have liked to have received 8 weeks ago. And then after I present the email to you, I'm going to talk about what was in that email and what works when you're giving bad news. Dear Deborah and Laura, it has been brought to my attention that there has been some flooding in the apartment. My understanding of the situation is that it started from the 12th floor when there was a cracked drain pipe. At first we thought it was just overuse and a tub had overflowed, which is why it was not addressed right away. However, due to it not being addressed right away, it has caused serious damage to your apartment, the neighboring apartment, and the 2 apartments above you. My understanding of the situation is that your bathroom walls, all the drywall, will need to be removed. In the kitchen, on the north side, all the drywall will need to be removed. In addition, all of the laminate flooring outside your bathroom and in the hallway will need to be removed. If there is any additional issues that have arisen in your apartment, please do not hesitate to send a photo and an email. I would like to advise you of the next steps. We will need to go into the space for the next 2 to 3 weeks to remove all the wet drywall and wet laminate flooring. Once this is complete, we will need to put fans in your apartment. The fans will be in your apartment for 1 to 2 weeks. This may cause some disruption at night because there are 4 fans and 1 very large dehumidifier in your apartment. Should this cause any issues with your sleeping habits, please do not hesitate to advise, and we can work out an alternate schedule for the fans and dehumidifier. Once we have removed the humidity from the apartment, we will rebuild your bathroom, hallway, and kitchen, and will return your bathroom to you. Finally, I would like to add, if there are any issues that come up during this process, please do not hesitate to call or email me. We are encouraging you to provide your input, and if there are specific days or times that do not work for you, please send us an email and we will do our absolute best to accommodate. Finally, with keeping this in mind, we are working with the strata, my insurance, their insurance, your insurance. As you can imagine, there are multiple groups involved in the situation, and it may take 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 months. Yours truly, Ed. So what have I done in this email that has alleviated myself as a tenant and also given us a framework of what's going to happen? The first thing that I did is I acknowledged the situation. Here's what happened, here's some background, and this is my understanding of what needs to be done. If there's more information, please provide us. What happened is they thought it was just my bathroom. So they started removing drywall on the ceiling of my wall, and then it wasn't until 2 weeks later that they found more water behind the fridge, and then more water down the hall, and then more water in my roommate's bedroom. So had they asked us the full scope of work at the beginning, we would have been able to tell them that, and they would have had to come back 4 or 5 times within the last month. The second thing that I did in my speech is I offered a timeline. Every single morning I would wake up and say, hey Ed, what's the plan today? Hey Strata, what's the plan today? Hey building manager, what is the plan today? And I would get no response. Then I would come home and there would be men in my apartment removing drywall. There would be everything that was in my bathroom removed and strayed all around the apartment. Or there would be fridges removed, toilets removed, sinks removed without me having any idea what was happening. So providing a clear timeline of what's happening, what's going to come, makes it so much easier for the tenant, myself, to plan. And finally, give the tenant or the person you're giving bad news to an opportunity to provide some feedback. I'm going to have questions. I'm going to have a lot of questions. And if you open it up to say, I'm open to your feedback, I will respond promptly, it makes it so much easier because then we know that we've been heard and we can move on with this disaster. So I've used this personal example as a way of giving bad news. It's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to hear it. But had it been done the right way 8 weeks ago, I may soon one day have an apartment back. But at the rate we're going now, I don't foresee that for many, many months. So I challenge each of you to take it head on and use some of the tips that I provided tonight to deliver bad news. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb, for sharing the trials and tribulations of strata living, something we can all probably, or many of us can probably relate to here in Vancouver. Okay, continuing on. Our next speaker of the evening, doing speech number 5 from the Competent Communication Manual. will be Matthew Tunnicliffe. The objective of speech number 5 is to use body language to amplify the message you're trying to convey in your speech. The body speaks. Title of Matthew's speech is The Benefits and Frustrations of Lifelong Learning. This is going to be an exploration of what it means to push yourself, challenge yourself every day in both work and play. With speech number 5, please help me welcome Matthew Tunnicliffe.
I have never been so mad in my life. I remember it was one of my first World Cups. I was in Japan. Spent 3 days getting ready for this very moment that would prove whether I could stay on that tour. I remember being in the start gate. I remember looking at the guy who said something in a language I still don't understand, which was just 5 seconds, which at that point, I tightened my boot one more notch because I always done that. It broke. It broke in the very same moment that I had to go. So what did I do? Like anyone would do, they grabbed their belt, tied themselves in, and went for a ride. The second, I was fixing my bicycle. How hard could it be? The guy at the store, oh, you just wrap the chain around and then you snap it in place. All you do is you grab the brakes, step on the pedal, it stops and engages. I did that. Hey, it's not rocket science. Put the bike back up on the wall, gave the pedal a spin, and all it did was grind. You know, at that point, it wasn't a kettle going off. It was an explosion in my apartment. Evidence in my explosion would support that. Polishing metal at work. To a mere finish, how hard could that be? Well, a trained metallurgist can do it in 3 hours. For me, I could skip a few steps. I skipped a few steps and it took me a few weeks. Toastmasters and most welcome guests, I want to talk to you about lifelong learning and that we should be embracing it rather than skipping it because it's easy. I look at learning as being on a road trip and seeing the sign that says next gas station 150 kilometers and you're already on empty. You don't have time to stop. Keep on going. You know, you're going to make it to your destination, but it's not going to be easy. All of these lessons, from the snowboarding to the bicycle to the work environment, you know what? It's not rocket science. Snowboarding's not that difficult. You're just outside having fun. And you know what? Start at step 1. Why not? What did I get out of these experiences? I learned that you got to be prepared. You got to anticipate what usually doesn't happen. Sure, I had spare parts in the hotel room. In the bike situation, sure, I was doing it at midnight. You know what? Don't do it the night before a race. And utilize the support team that you have. At work, start at step 1. If you start at step 3, you're going to have a bad time. Lifelong learning, you will only benefit. And sure, it was racing, it was biking, it was work. But you know what the benefits of this are? Is that the social benefit. I got to travel the world with a group of snowboarders with a common interest and common life goals. We wanted to be the best in the world at something. When I decided to tear my bicycle apart the night before a race, my best friends at the bike shop, Tim, Adrian, and Matt, became my best pals and they taught me new skills. At work, sure, this time it took me 3 weeks, but you know what, the next time it's going to take me 3 hours, 5 hours, and I'm increasing my own value. Ladies and gentlemen, embrace these opportunities to learn. You will only benefit with your time, your money, your skills, and your professional development. I invite you all, stop at the gas station, top up with knowledge, and utilize your experience in the future.
Thank you, Matthew, for sharing those awesome stories about snowboarding and biking and being awesome. Good stuff. Okay, our last speaker of the evening is Club 59 superstar, Western Canadian public speaking superstar, I would argue, an all-around amazing human being. Jillian Roberts, our intern Club 59 president. Jillian is doing another advanced manual speech. This is a 10 to 15-minute speech. Okay. Jillian is working from the Educational Leadership Excellence Series manual, project number 6, Building a Team. This is going to be an exploration into what it takes to build a highly functioning, inspired, and connected group of leaders. Very timely considering that we are actually heading into an election cycle here at Club 59 later this month. The title of Jillian's speech is 2 Questions. With her advanced manual speech titled 2 Questions, Jillian Roberts.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and my most welcome guests. Thank you very much for being here this evening. I want you to take just a moment to think about a team that you've been a member of. Allow something to come to your mind. And I want you to ask yourself, was it a successful team or did you have some challenges? Were there challenges to creating a successful team? Or did everything kind of fall apart? Tonight, I'm bringing you a speech that is part of the Leadership Excellence Series, and it's part of the Toastmasters International Advanced Leadership Program. And it's an opportunity to work within your club to talk about different relevant topics to the club itself and to the members who are obviously out in the professional world as well. So as you're listening to this evening, do consider what it's been like for you out in the world and what you also can do to bring your leadership skills and curiosity to the future of this club. As Colin mentioned, next meeting, which is May 28th, we will actually be holding the elections process for our new executive leadership team. And so there's no actually coincidence that it is this evening that I'm doing this talk. It is to help to inspire and hopefully educate all of us into that space of inquiry about ourselves as well as what's possible for this club. So while the topic is building a team, I would argue that really we want to talk about building a successful team. So 2 questions. Who is it that you want on the bus? And where is the bus going? These are 2 key leadership questions that are often used out in business again, but here we're going to talk about them with regard to the club. So who do you want on the leadership team? And where is the leadership team taking the membership in the club in the year to come? Now here's the next good question. What exactly is the bus? The bus is the club itself. TM Club 59 is our sacred bus it's our vehicle for learning about communication and leadership here, not just anywhere, but here at this location with these incredible inspirational people. As we've talked about, stellar speakers and soulful support. There's something that for 83 years now, we have been doing something very special here, and we want to ensure that our next leadership team continues to take that tradition along with it, as well as taking us to the next step. So this is how the bus has looked. It's been pretty groovy and grooviola, and in fact, we had one of these when I was growing up. But we want to ensure that this is not what the bus looks like, okay? So if we just had no leadership team, this is potentially what could happen. Oops. Whoa, went way too far here. We want it to look like this. We want it to look like it has the tradition of the old, and so we carry that along, carrying our legacy of tradition. But we also want to know that it's built to last. And we also want to know that it has some new modern twists on it as we moved into the Pathways generation of Toastmasters International, as well as the people who are making up our membership. And so how are we going to build the team to do this? We need a new executive leadership team, as I mentioned. We've also been talking about our group mentorship and challenge teams. So I'm going to, if I have a chance, get to the second part at the end, but I'm going to lead the first. So, what and why, why and how are we co-creating these teams? Well, the how of it is going to be the bulk of the talk. The why I've already pointed to. But first of all, there's organizational benefits, obviously, to having a strong leadership team, working as a team. Each member of the executive team historically has brought individual skills that they already have, knowledge and ability that they bring to their position on the executive, and then grow and cultivate to the specific role. When there is an effective leadership team working well together, obviously there is a synergy that happens. There's more creativity, there's co-creation, and then the productivity of the team increases. Now, the productivity of the executive team can look like creating new programs, special events for us. It can be special educational events, which we do from time to time. Doug, I remember for a couple of years, created a debate meeting, which was really powerful, and all the speakers that were on those debate teams just blew up. They had incredible advancement. We have opportunities to do in-house contests, to go out into the public and mentor teams. So there really is no limit to what we can do as a club, as long as we keep the home fires burning and the foundation strong. The foundation of the membership is a strong leadership team. Now, what are the benefits to you as a leader on this team? First of all, we need to ensure that there's a lot of time that you are making, there's more time devoted to the leadership issues than to the team itself. When a team is beginning, obviously, there is a time when there's forming, storming, and conforming. So there's a time when you create the team, and then you brainstorm and create what it's going to be about, and then you move off into creating the outcomes that you want. I'm just going to skip over that. So how are we going to do this? So next meeting, we have the elections. We have specific roles that are available for people to be nominated for, to put his or her own name forward for. And so we want to be very mindful as a club of selecting the people for the team. Now remember the two questions. Who do you want in the bus? So at first, it's less important which role the person is in. We want to talk about leaders in general. So when I look at someone like Joseph, for instance, he's someone who's here consistently. You can tell he's going to get up here and do an evaluation. He's consistently been present, doing speeches, doing roles, saying yes when we ask him to say yes to support things. Constantine, both speechathons, he's already stepped up and been a chair, never having been a chair before. Marina has been a president, a past president. You know, just look around the room. We've got Bojana, she has been the treasurer for several years in a row now. So there are things and opportunities for people who are already showing leadership skills. Each one of us has leadership skills. So selecting those team members is really key. And with the second question being, where is the bus going? And so coming together as an executive and representing the club in terms of where do we want to go as a club next year. Every single year we have the Distinguished Club series here, which if you're not so familiar with it, if you're a newer member, we can explain that to you perhaps offline with a little bit more clarity, but it allows us to achieve a certain outcome each year. So that is one goal from a Toastmasters International perspective. But we also have goals, individual and collective goals within our club. Our goal is that each person moves through the communication and leadership program with support, with inspiration, with great feedback. Therefore, we need people who are mentors. We need people who every week are giving really great evaluations, and so we want to train people on how to do these things. So establishing parameters and again developing a plan. At the beginning of the executive year, the executive team has the opportunity to create what we call a successful club plan. And again, that looks at the year ahead. What do the members want to achieve? What's the state of membership at the moment? How do we want to achieve the Distinguished Club program? And what do individual members want to achieve for themselves as well? And how can we support that? And so having a plan for that is a big part as well. And then assigning roles and responsibilities. Each different role, we have a president, we have a past president, we have a vice president or two of education, a vice president or two of membership, we have a secretary, we have a treasurer, and then we have sergeants at arms, who are the people that open up the meetings. So there are opportunities in a wide variety of ways to be a leader and to step forward and contribute to being part of this. Establishing measurements, of course, is important for advancement of any team. So again, as a team and from the president down, we take a look at how are we going to measure our advancement along those goal paths. And then this is really key, building team trust. So how do we build trust in any context? Anyone have a suggestion?
Accountability.
Accountability? Honesty?
Do your job.
Doing what you say you're going to do?
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's when people can rely on you.
Pardon me?
And that when people can rely on you.
Exactly right. Communication, open communication could be a way. Anyone else? Honesty, yeah. So building trust. So this is multidimensional at the club in terms of the executive, because we've got a group of people working as leaders, and we need to ensure that each person in each seat on the bus knows exactly what he or she is to be doing, is able to communicate openly and honestly with one another, that we're showing up and giving each other the time and commitment that we've agreed to, and that we're also representing the rest of the club's membership and communicating in a transparent way with them as well. So there are kind of multiple levels of trust. The membership can trust the executive to stand for them and represent them, and that the executive can also trust the membership to follow their lead and to have an open dialogue about what they want as well. This has worked beautifully over the years, and we just want to ensure that we continue with a really strong leadership team moving us forward. Empowerment. So this is really key as well. I talked about forming, storming, and conforming. Those are kind of the initial stages of when a team comes together and figuring out roles and responsibilities, who does what, who has what strengths and skills, who's going to be responsible for what, and how we're going to communicate. And then the leader, him or herself, and especially the president, leads by empowering others to do and stand for the job that they have offered to do. So delegation and empowerment are two things that are really important. So as a leader, it's important to delegate so you're not doing it all yourself. That never works. But there can be over-delegation as well, where everything's given to everyone else to do. And so there's a really healthy balance of creating depth on the bench. And I think if there's any theme that I want to emphasize in this talk this evening, creating a successful team for our year going forward is going to be about creating depth on the bench. We have a lot of people, or a good number of people who've been here for time, and then we have a lot of new faces who are also coming up and learning what our traditions, our policies, our procedures are, and we want to ensure we build a really strong bridge between that so that our traditions carry forward, our club culture is kept going for another, hopefully 83 years, and that each member here is served individually and collectively and vice versa. And so if you are considering putting your name forward or would like to put your name forward in one of these leadership positions, please ensure that you come and speak with me or Deb at the end of the meeting. We have been putting nomination opportunities out to the club, and we would like to consider you if you would like to consider being on the executive. So I'm going to just zoom ahead here. We've talked about all these pieces. If kind of go right to the end here. These are the teams that each of us has been placed on, and I'm just going to go through them. You can review them at the end. I've got all of our current membership assigned to teams. If you have not seen your name here, please see me as well. And please remember the name, the color of your team. And we'll be sharing more about how that's going to play, hopefully at the barbecue at the year end. So in conclusion, we've got a really important decision being made at our club at our next meeting. There are two questions that are being asked. One is, who do we want on the bus? Who do we want on our executive? And where are we going as a club? Where do we want that executive to take us in the years to come? We want to ensure that we are honoring our tradition while taking ourselves ahead into the modern version of ourselves. So please consider that you are a leader at heart and that there's something that only you can contribute to this club, whether you're a member of the executive or not. We do hope that you will consider being part of the executive.
Thank you, Jillian, for that great lesson in what it means to create and develop a high-functioning group of leaders. The thing that stands out for me most was the power of empowerment. Great stuff. So, we are in the home stretch here of our speech and evaluation marathon. We have 3 evaluations to get through. Finish line is visible. To evaluate Deborah's advanced manual speech will be Adriana Carrillo. Adriana is going to be using a classic evaluation style, the sandwich technique. Now, Adriana is one of our most competent and skilled evaluators. She's super concise and she's super organized. So if you're looking to add structure and detail to your public speaking toolbox, pay attention to Adriana. The sandwich technique is as follows. A couple points of positivity, a couple opportunities for improvement, and a couple more points of positivity. You want to leave the speaker feeling warm and pleasant on the inside. With Deborah's advanced manual speech evaluation, Adriana Carrillo.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. It is my pleasure to be here to provide an oral evaluation for what is a wonderful speech by our dear Deborah. You all heard it, the flat. Deborah was speaking to us, delivering project number 5. This is an advanced communicator manual, and all the speeches here are speeches by management. Deborah had a challenge tonight, which was to deliver bad news either to a group or to role play it with a person to give an individual. In my evaluation, as mentioned earlier, I'm going to be speaking about 2 things that I thought were real highlights of her speech, 2 items that I consider opportunities for improvement or to elevate the speech, and then finally 2 other things that I really liked about her speech tonight. Speaking from really 2 great highlights for me are, one that I always appreciate of Deborah coming here up at the front as a speaker is the quality of her voice. It is many things involved with that I think make her a great and effective speaker. It's the volume, which is high and is low and is paused and is fast and is everything into it. There's a nice positive tone always at the start of it, and then when she's telling about the email, she got a little bit more serious and then ramp up the energy at the end, and you could feel all of this through her voice and the speed and the pauses. Brilliant. Another thing that I really like about her delivery tonight, and almost every single time, is her presence. It's open and it is especially engaging, either through focused eye contact or always something that she very often does in her speeches is having the audience participate with her. From the very beginning, she had us ask whose apartment or house has been flooded, right? And we all get on board with her. Beautiful. two opportunities for improvement, or my suggestions that I think would have elevated the speech. The first one was on organization. Deborah spoke to us about and gave us a wonderful, very well memorized email about how to deliver bad news in a very good way, in this case through an email. And then she told us how it was wrongly done so that we could put that into contrast. For me, it would have worked a little bit better if I get first break it up, because it was long, so that I can see the three components that she showed us about the background, the timeline, and giving the opportunity for response. So, and for some reason, it works for me better if it's the bad, and then you show me how to do it well. So this is what happened. Wouldn't have been nice if, the background was introduced this way. Pause. And then on point number 2, it was done like this, we didn't know what was happening, all of a sudden it was not only the kitchen, it was the living room. And then explaining in an email that paragraph of, this is a better way to have explained it. And finally, the last point, and as a conclusion, summarizing the 3 points of how it would have been better, I would have been able to retain a little bit better. And the second challenge, of course, is to actually use this speech to deliver the bad news to the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana, for those wise words. Great job. Okay, continuing on. Our second to last evaluator of the evening is going to be another standout here at Club 59 in the world of evaluation. Cindy Thomas will be evaluating Matthew's speech number 5. Cindy will be using, as outlined by Constantine earlier, the glove technique. The glove technique is a very detailed, very content-rich style of evaluation, which is going to be touching on gestures, language, organization, voice, and enthusiasm. With Matthew's speech number 5 evaluation, Cindy Thomas.
Fellow Toastmasters and our guests, and especially to Matthew. So the reason I chose this way of evaluating the speech, the glove technique, is because when I'm listening, there's so much information coming my way, and I need a roadmap. I need some kind of direction that's going to help me. What do I focus on? Because there's just so much to focus on. So the glove technique is I'll be focusing on gestures, language, organization, voice, and enthusiasm. That's how I will evaluate Matthew's speech tonight. So I didn't know that, but his speech was centered on your body speaks. And glove technique is the perfect way to approach it because it's about gestures and body language. So to start off with the gestures, Matthew presented his speech through storytelling. He started off with 3 great stories. And what better way to bring a story alive than to use gestures? So his whole body was involved. He started off right away over here with his snowboarding at the starting gate. And he used his body that helped enhance the story of his boot broke. The one thing I would suggest in terms of the transitioning was he did use the gesture and movement to switch to the next story, but all of a sudden I was still over here with the snowboarding, and all of a sudden it took me a little bit to click with, oh, we're on a different story now with bicycles. So for me, what would have helped would have been at the beginning, and this touches on organization, if he had have told us that the way that he would present his speech was through 3 stories, kind of just to prepare us a little bit and give us a little bit of a heads up. So one thing I would suggest coming back to gestures is he used a lot of arm gestures and body level and movement. And just in terms of a tiny point of improvement, there was a few times that he just kind of held his hand. And that is something that you could watch out for. The second aspect, language. There was a point in his voice where he said, do you know what the benefits are of having a life lesson? And just the tonation of his language at that point and what he said got my attention right away. And then it flowed right with the benefits of, he made friends with the bike guys, something that at work started off taking him 3 weeks, then it took him 3 hours. So that language part just kind of perked me up to really listen and follow. And I thought his ending was brilliant in the phrase and the language that he used about next time in the gas station, stop and make sure you fill up with knowledge. After language comes organization, and I think, as I said, his organization was very good. He used his storytelling, and then he went on to tell us about how to approach a life lesson to be prepared, and he gave great examples. And I see that I am running out of time, so I will have to continue this on with Matthew afterwards. But thank you, Matthew, for being here.
Thank you for your insights, Cindy. Great job, as always. Okay. Last evaluation of the evening. 2, evaluate. Jillian's advanced manual speech will be one of our emerging stars here at Club 59. Joseph Filippowitz. Now, Jillian has identified a couple key data points that she has requested Joseph to focus on in constructing a meaningful evaluation for her. In particular, he's going to be focusing on clarity of message and audience engagement. Can't wait to see what Joseph comes up with Jillian's advanced manual speech. Joseph Filippowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and of course, Jillian. Where are you, Jillian? Oh, there you are. Thanks a lot for the incredible speech and just for educating us throughout this past year, along with co-VP Deborah, so the co-VPs of education, of course. So thank you so much. And as was mentioned, I'm just going to focus on 2 elements that Jillian wanted me to look at, which is her ability to educate us and her ability to engage us as an audience. There's a lot we can learn from her in a whole host of respects, but I'm just going to focus on those for tonight. So regarding educating us, I think a really good way in which she was able to do this is by presenting us with structure. Right? So right off the bat, she was able to describe the purpose of her speech, of her presentation, which was to inspire and educate us, especially with the upcoming elections, right? So this was a very timely speech. She also gave us a why, right? Which is that the foundation of the membership is a strong leadership team. I really like that, right? She's giving us a why. This motivates us. Another really important way to educate us is the use of metaphors. It's a rhetorical device that I think was really effectively used here. The 2 questions, right? Who you want on the bus, and where is the bus going? Those are really effective questions because metaphors often help us, understand what might otherwise be a complex concept through a very simple example, right? So where do we want this club to be going? So I thought that was very helpful. Unfortunately, the presentation was not always in sync with the structure that she was presenting us. But I think that all in all, because she's such an advanced speaker, she was able to just engage us through her sheer power of personality and the structure that she obviously had internalized because she knows the subject matter so well. Now, secondly, I'm going to talk about her ability to engage us as an audience, right? And I think that if there was one thing that I could say she did really well to engage us as an audience was the use of questions. Nothing engages people better than when they're actually talking and participating, right? Even if it's in their own mind and they're not necessarily responding, but she started with a question about when you're on a team and the successes and challenges that you experienced while on a team. And I'm sure that all of us or most of us have experienced challenges. So really contextualizing things, that was quite helpful. Right off the beginning, I thought I was already thinking about what she was challenging me to think about. And then there were the 2 questions, obviously, that I mentioned earlier, right, about the bus and where it's going. And she also talked about developing trust, right? And we all had suggestions, whether in our own minds or by suggesting them to the rest of the audience. So I thought that was a really good way of engaging us as an audience, as questions. And she also had a call to action, right? asking us to either consider being part of the executive or thinking of people who might be a great fit. So I think that all in all, she was really able to educate us through great subject matter, but also able to engage us throughout this 10 to 15 minute presentation, which is something that only an advanced speaker like Jillian is able to do really, really well. So with that, I'll hand things back to her.
Great insights from a great evaluator. Good job, Joseph. So, thank you to our speech givers this evening for entertaining us. Thank you to our evaluators for enlightening us. We have crossed the metaphorical finish line of our speech and evaluation marathon this evening at Club 59. I'm going to pass it back to Constantine.
Thank you so much, Colin, for leading the second part. Tonight we had just one support role, but it was a very important one. Let's welcome Tina, who will report us how well we did on time.
So, before I start, I would like to apologize to Matthew. I timed it, but I didn't reset my light switch. But I will say that it's very fitting to the speech because I am learning. So I'm just gonna quickly go through everybody's time. Natalie, 5:54. David, 9:17. Mark, 10:21. Jennifer, 2:28. Jillian, 3:30. Lilith, 3:30. Deborah, 7:08. Matthew, 4:32. Jillian, 14:56. Adrian, 3:30. Cindy, 3:30. And Joseph, 3:21. Good job, everybody.
Thank you so much, Tina, for your hard work. We were listening to 6 amazing evaluations which were focused on specific speakers. But now it's time to receive a little more general feedback. Marina, who is our general evaluator tonight, will be using the open sandwich technique. So she will be speaking about some good points and some points of evaluation. And Marina said that she will try to focus on more general points which would help us together as a club to do our job better. Let's welcome Marina Milner-Bolotova.
Dear fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, of course, Constantine and Doug. Today's a very special day, and not because I'm the evaluator, but because we are celebrating today 82nd birthday of our club. To be more accurate, on May 9th, and I remember the date because it was the end of the World War II for the Soviets in May 9th, 1945, we know the date. So I also remember that it was the birthday of our club exactly 82 years ago. So if you look here and you see all the ribbons and you see number 59 here, you will know that it's unique, having thousands and thousands of clubs in the world to be 59 and second in Canada after Victoria, but who cares about Victoria? So we feel as if we were the first ones. It's all about the attitude. Today's evaluation is going to focus on things that we all can learn as a club. And I'm doing that because we have so many new members, and our older members sometimes need a little bit of a refresher. I would like to start with the beginning of the meeting. And the beginning was not even here, it was the email by Constantine. And I want to say, the tone of the meeting is set before the meeting is on by the emails, by the encouragement, by the introductions in the previous meeting, what John did today so well of the topic for the next meeting. I want to acknowledge Constantine did it exceptionally well. And then when I came, I saw Guillaume, who wasn't even mad that I was almost late. He just welcomed me and said, come, and he introduced all the guests. It was very well done. And it shows you that new traditions happen. If you remember, Karen, I would say 3 or 4 months ago, told me, why don't we do a new role, create a new role of a reader who will speak and not just stand there in the darkness and welcome guests, which was a fantastic idea. So even though we're 82 years young, we still are open to new traditions and new ideas. Well done, Guillaume. Well done, Guillaume. Thank you so much. And now I would like to go into Konstantin's presentation. And I have to say, Konstantin amazes me every time he does it. I think he takes on roles, does it well, prepares well, and it shows. But a few things we all can learn. And I want you to model a presentation as if I were to introduce Debbie. So imagine if I were the person who introduces Debbie, and my goal as a person who introduces is to make you all excited, not about me, but about Debbie. I should give her the stage, and I should make her so welcome that all her fear of public speaking melts. To do that, I have to think of a couple of things. So let's practice. And now it is my pleasure and honor to introduce Debbie. And she's going to talk about, the flood. To introduce Debbie. Yeah. Thank you. Yep. Notice what I have done. Not only I got stuck with my butt, although my butt looks good too, yeah? But I didn't make it really welcoming for Debbie. I was standing like this. She wasn't sure when to get out. She got a little bit, she started moving, and then I'm continued, and then I'm doing ums and ahs. No, we should be like Colin, who memorized and Konstantin it so well that there were no ums and ahs in the introduction, no notes, but we also have to agree with the person. When does she move? So let's agree at the club that when we introduce the speaker, we say the name, the title of the speech, the name, and then we do this. And Debbie knows that she has to move. And I never ever do this. Instead, I show that that's her stage, not mine. I move away, you clap, and Debbie speaks. I think she and you would feel much more comfortable if we do it this way. And that's going to thank you so much for demoing that. If we do notice how Debbie moved back, if we do it consistently, it will help all of us. It brings me to the bridging. One of the things that I noticed today, Colin did it superbly and Konstantin did it exceptionally well, they listened. In order to bridge, you have to listen what people said. And active listening is a hard thing, because when I have to listen to a speech, I can think of how am I going to argue with my husband. I'm thinking, oh, my son doesn't love me, obviously, he never said that. And I think about a lot of other things instead of forcing myself to be an active listener. This is very, very important to imagine that every time you have to evaluate, you can think of it, what will I learn from the speeches or from the evaluation? It was such a full and amazing meeting today, but we have to learn to listen in order to learn. Bridging was done exceptionally well, and both parts were prepared so well that I was very proud. However, one thing for improvement could have been to learn how we prepare the stage for the speaker. When I came here, I felt uncomfortable with the lectern here. I love to have the stage, I want to move. It is my responsibility either to tell the person who introduces me, would you please move it away? Or if I maybe want to calm down, move it away, stand. Jillian always does it. Pause, and then start speaking. The stage is mine, I own it. Do it convenient for yourself. Which brings me to the next point. How do we use the materials that when we speak that we want to use so they do not distract from the message of the meeting? For example, I notice, because I'm a teacher, I pay attention how people use PowerPoint. When we use PowerPoint and we put the computer behind, it immediately forces us to do this. And then look here, it's very confusing unless you want to exercise. If you did go to the gym, it's a good thing. So if you don't want to do that, maybe we should think of how to move computers in front, that we can glance at a computer, but we do not need to move back. It forces us to look forward. And the audience feel that we know what we're talking about. The next point is, not to apologize and not to comment on what we thought we might do, but we didn't do. For example, from the very beginning, Konstantin apologized twice because he said something last week and he didn't keep up his promise. Who remembered what he said last week? I had no clue what he said. And therefore, when you apologize and you tell people, I'm not good, I'm not prepared, it puts the expectations from you even low, and it's not good. You have to fake it that you're super confident, you do 10 times more than what you have promised. Then people respect you more. So no apologies, no mentioning that I'm going to skip 55 slides in between because I don't have time anyways. Don't do that. Do not apologize, be confident. It will help your audience. But what if we forgot something? I noticed a lot of evaluators did an exceptional job noticing details. I loved what Cindy had done, and quite a few of you did fantastic evaluations. But what if you thought, for example, I have all the list, but I'm practicing not to look at my notes. What if you forgot? It happens, yeah. You might have thought about something and, oh my God, I forgot. You have to breathe. Who was talking about breathing? I think it was Jennifer who did a very good evaluation at the beginning. Breathe, slow down, and look as if you're going to say something so important that the audience waits for it. Do not show as if you have forgotten. Nobody knows what you plan to do to begin, say to begin with. So fake it, show confidence. I have a lot of notes, but I want to finish with a couple of small things about different techniques of evaluation, because we had 6 amazing evaluations. I wrote notes about each one, but I want to summarize for the whole audience a couple of things. I personally feel, and again, it's my personal thing, that when I evaluate, I try not to say you. I try to say he or she. And the reason I'm doing it, because in reality, I'm evaluating not just for example, Bojana, if she was to speak. I'm evaluating for all the club, and most importantly for myself. So it's okay to say he or she. She did exceptional about this. Here, she can improve. I think it was fantastic to use he or she to relieve the stress from the speaker, but also to tell the audience, hey guys, that's for all of us. Now I want to finish with something, because today Natalie impressed me so much. 4 languages, and she speaks Portuguese, and I'm trying to learn it, and it's hard. And I thought, okay, I have to say, first of all, Adriana is not Carrillo, she's Carrillo, is it right? Double L in Spanish is Y. And I think it's very important for all of us in an international club to show respect and try to say the name as the person. Even if you mess up, it feels so good when somebody cares to ask how to pronounce your name. But I will finish with something related to English, because English is not my first language, it's absolutely clear to you. I would like to say how amazing it is I had to write it down, that Debbie used this sentence. Listen, I would have liked to have received this email. Think of the complication of the English language. I would have liked to have received this email. That's a beautiful conditional sentence. In summary, you can not only become a better public speaker, but thanks to all of you, we can improve our English and be people who can make a difference in other people's lives.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Maria. That was a fountain of amazing thoughts and ideas. And if you're like me, struggle to pick up everything right away, we actually have Mina, who is videographer, so watch on the video later on. It is great to listen to evaluation from an experienced member, but sometimes it's good to get some fresh side. And we have Guillaume, who would help us to get a little bit more feedback from our guests. Let's welcome Guillaume Lefebvre. Guillaume Lefebvre.
So big shout out to all the great speakers we had tonight. Again, high quality speeches. So yes, I'd like to get your thoughts and feedbacks on this evening, and in 15 seconds tell me what did you like and why you'll come back next week and sign up as a member. David. Are you still, David?
I only need 5 seconds. This is a place for growth, character, and inspiration. Thank you.
come back next week?
If I'm in town, I will.
Okay, thank you. Gabriella.
Yeah. I will come back for sure. Maybe not next week because it's Victoria Day. But in 2 weeks.
Oh, in 2 weeks.
But, yeah. So yeah, I've already did 6 evenings, and I think it's great for the language. But
Good, thank you. Alex.
Yeah, I found today very inspirational. I'd like to work on my public speaking and get a bit more confident. So thank you to everyone that spoke and evaluated before. I want to be able to speak more like that. As for next time, I'll have to talk to you about the structure of the voting and leadership nominations to see whether it's a good idea to come back next time, but I'll definitely come back at some point in the future.
Nathan.
Yeah, definitely. So a big part of the reason I'm here is I get quite bad anxiety when speaking in front of people, and I think it was Mark's speech that really shone out to that level of calm I'm sort of aiming for, so that's the intention, and I'll definitely come back for that reason.
All right, thank you. And Shannon.
I would definitely come back. Listen to your speech today, your confidence really shone out. Although it's intimidating, more intimidating, having watched you, the idea of standing up there, I'm sure that over time, yeah, I will get there. Thank you.
Francisco.
Well, you know that I'm new here, and when I hear like everybody's talking about the structure of the topic, I don't know what they're talking about. But it's something that I would like to know, you know, to improve my English. And I probably come back the next time. I hope so.
And Jeremy.
So every speaker has different strengths, and it's just a great opportunity to listen and try to learn that for myself and take into it for my own daily speaking.
And we come back. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Guillaume. And dear guests, if you slightly doubting whether to come back next month or not, of course come back. You're gonna have a chance to meet potential new members and potential leaders for the next Toastmasters year. We are about to wrap up, but before we do that, I do know for sure that we have a couple of announcements, and I would like to welcome Deborah Patterell and Jillian Rogers to do that. Thanks.
We're back. As has been mentioned throughout the meeting, and Jillian and myself are the VP Education, and it's a challenging role. But the best part about the role is that we get to give out awards, or gold stars. See what I did there? I stole Constantine's hat. So the first gold star we'd like to give out today is to Natalie. Come on down. What I absolutely love about icebreakers is we learn that this unsuspecting Vancouverite knows not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different languages. She's traveled the world, and she's worked in mines. Is that how you interpreted that? Because I see her down in the dark mines, just Zoolander style. We are so happy that you've joined our club and taken the first plunge with your icebreaker speech. We look forward to many more speeches. Please don't go anywhere. You have so much to teach us, and congratulations on your icebreaker. Well, all of us together, yes. With the hat on.
That's okay, Joanne, you fit. Thank you.
And not to be left in the dust, he leaves all of us in the dust. Please welcome back David and Chama to the stage. So once again, this is a very, very special occasion. having finished his Confident Communicator Manual, having inspired us all, not just tonight, but as I mentioned, on all of the nights that he spoke, as well as being a really engaged member of the club, doing roles, saying yes, being our videographer. So you are officially an all-star with us, and we do a special thing on the number 10 speech. We'd like to give you a standing ovation.
Yes. Standing ovation.
You will have to say you love someone and you get this very snazzy Confident Communicator pin, which you can wear every single day. And I'm going to give you this little one to put on our Distinguished Club program because we've just achieved great. We've got one of our final two. The last one is going to come from Garrett Vaughn at our barbecue. We have a final that happens there as well. Thank you so much for contributing to the club, contributing to your own development, and inspiring us all.
Welcome, everyone. Dear guests, if you are interested about joining our club, you should talk to Cynthia and Olesa, who are co-leading the new membership. And do you have any more announcement today?
Exactly.
Yes, Lilith.
Just a reminder about Posty Toasties. We go up to, it's still Lucky Taco, right? That's where people have been going? Okay, so Lucky Taco. Oh.
I was 2 weeks now. I need, John, are you going to come and join me? I was the only one there last week. Lucky Tacos was completely full. I believe that the
Kitchen table?
Table was open.
Okay. Okay. So
Drinks
the
only
tradition
go
is we go somewhere after this meeting, even though it's a Monday night, to start our camaraderie, enjoy a bite of food and each other's company, and you can ask questions. So
Thank you, Liv.
kitchen table tonight.
Good.
And finally, we have a tradition here where when we wrap the meeting, if we could ask you to please just pick up your chair and help us clear the space. We do have an executive meeting after as well, so the sooner you can make your way to Posty Toasties, you can have your chance there. Thank you, everybody. Back to the chair.
Is there a holiday next week?
You doing, sir?
Yes.